Thanks for tuning in. You are listening to Conversations with the Citizen.
Hello, and welcome to another week of Get Your House in Order. I'm your host, Bren Sheriff. The information provided on this podcast is not intended to be legal advice, but to inform you of the importance of getting your house in order by making a plan that will establish and protect your legacy. Additionally, we will be talking about some current events. We encourage you to seek a professional who can speak to your individual situations should you need help with anything discussed during this podcast. Feel free to give me a call at 773-817-0601. On today's show, we will be discussing some things that are near and dear to my heart. What is happening in our area of civil rights, and what can we as individuals do? It's a part of getting our house in order, getting things in order, knowing what to do, when to do, how to do it. And prayerfully, some of the things I share with you will be seeds planted in your heart and become fruitful as we go forth to correct some of the things that we have not done in a timing. I often tell my friends, I really know black folks. And why do I know black folks? Because I have been black 5 times. And they laugh. 5 times. I say, yeah. I was black as a baby. I was black as a little girl. I was black as a teenager. I was black as a young woman. And now I be black as an old woman. So I be knowing me some black. And let me tell you some of the facts. We are a people that are creatively and wonderfully made. And sometimes we don't necessarily recognize the richness of who we are because we forget whose we are. In our community, we have more religious institutions per capita than any other group of people. And so I'm praying that my words are being directed to those of you that attend some of these religious institutions, because that puts us in a place of sameness. One of the things I've noticed in my 5 stages of blackness is that black people sometimes get caught up on their differences and not focusing on their samenesses. This was brought to my attention several years ago. I was working in a government agency, and the white person that expressed to me he felt confident in asking me the question, why is it that black folks and white folks are so different in their processing of information? Now my hackles went up. I said, different how? And he explained. He said, if I call a meeting and the predominant people in there are white, we have an agenda with 5 things on that agenda. He said, after we begin the meeting, it is immediately recognized that of those 5 things on the agenda, 4 of those they would never agree on until Jesus came. So they take that one item out of those 5, they focus on that one item, and they get it done, meeting successful, home, done. He said, now, if I have a meeting where the majority of the people are African American, he said, 5 things on the agenda. He said, and immediately they recognized 4 of those items are things that they could all agree on. I'm elated, he said. Here are 4 things that we can get done today. He said, but doggone if every time they focus on that one thing that they would never agree on until Jesus came. Once I became aware of that, I began to look at the dynamics of our meetings. And in those meetings, too often, I saw the energies of the meeting focus on differences rather than where it could be progressive and successful in focusing on the samenesses. When you meet people, don't look for differences, look for samenesses. There are so many things that we have in common. First of all, if you believe in what Scripture says, we're all made in the image and likeness of God. So that gives us a singular focus. Whatever it is that you can do to focus on that sameness, that will get us in a unified way. And I know for older folks, such as I'm a member now of that group, we used to talk about us being like crabs in a barrel, that we can never get together, that if one tries to advance, someone is pulling us down. Stop it. Stop it. Be encouraging. Old folks used to say you can draw more bees with honey than you can with vinegar. Soften. Give folks a break. You want a break? Give them a break. Understand that no one is always going to be exactly the same. That's why it's interesting to have variety, diversity. But understand there's some basic principles, and those basic principles that we are all in this world together. When I take in a breath, it could have been something part of what you had just expelled, vice versa. We're in this world together. It's like being in a fishbowl. We're all in the same water. We're all in the same atmosphere. What affects one affects the other, if not immediately, at some point in time. And so the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Let us be more loving. Let us be more focused on being the same. Now, why do I say this? Because right now we need unity in our community more than we have ever needed it before. As you may have read or heard, the Supreme Court, which has been our tribunal of fairness based on laws that were in place, has now pulled the rug out from under many of the civil rights that were established, particularly our right to vote. I hear people talking about our democracy, our democracy. This has never, the United States of America has never been a democracy. And every time I hear a democracy, it's like chalk squeaking on a blackboard for me. We are a constitutional republic. Difference? In a democracy, you vote your own interest on every issue. A republic, you vote to elect an individual to represent your interest on issues. We're not a democracy. We hardly even have a democracy in your family. Somebody's got to, as they say, somebody got to claim that leadership. You don't necessarily get a vote. But we do have a republic. And that's what they have just pulled the rug out from under so many of us. The majority of African Americans statistically live in the South. That has always been the case. I'm from the South. I'm one of those people whose parents migrated here to the North. I was born in the South. My son is the first one in my family that was born outside of the South. So we're talking about just 5-6 decades now that we have been living in the North. Why is that important? Because sometimes over the years we have forgotten the struggles. I grew up in the segregated South. I grew up where there were white schools and there were black schools. The white schools had all of the conveniences, modern book or new books, modern buildings, and the black schools were a little less stellar. I'm being very conservative with that. We were treated as they had us in the law as almost non-citizens when they had the ability, and I'm from Tennessee, and the part of Tennessee that I'm from, Middle Tennessee, around Nashville, they had what they call poll taxes. If you didn't have poll tax, if you were not able to pay poll taxes, and some people weren't, they would actually work the county roads to come up with what the county said was their fee so they could go to the polls to vote. I have memories of things that you folks, many of you, would never even be able to imagine. We had segregated restrooms, even if you could go to a restroom, even if you could get a drink of water. When the civil rights movement began, people like Jim Bevel's, Diane Nash, all centered in Nashville, Tennessee. As a matter of fact, Jim Bevel's, who was the strategist for Dr. King and Diane, lived on my father's uncle's place. That's what we call it. They lived on his place. They had a trailer that they lived in as they led and directed those student protests for the lunch counters being opened in Nashville, in downtown Nashville. These are things that those of you that just say with abandonment, what you have a right to, you didn't have those rights then. Someone had to do something to get the rights that you have. And the most important right that you have, and I'm speaking now to all generations, is your right to vote. It's okay that you can go out and buy Cadillacs and buy Range Rovers and Lexus and all of those things. That's wonderful. But your real important right is your right to vote. That you become a part of that grouping that take their responsibility. And rights come. There's responsibility with rights. You just don't have rights without responsibility. They're tag team. Your right to vote is the most important thing that makes you from a non-citizen to a full citizen. Just the fact that you are here, and that's one of the things that they talk about in the 14th Amendment of right of citizenship. And hey, they're working on that, because I've heard the rumblings that are saying that was only for the immediate progeny of those slaves. And there's a question whether or not that passed all the way down to those of us that are here now. They don't want us to vote. They don't want us to vote. Don't play in their hands. Vote, but vote with understanding. I did a column a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, and my hypothesis was that people don't vote because they don't understand what those particular offices that they're voting for, what those offices are supposed to do to represent their interest, politics or local. Do you know your alderman? Do you know where your alderman stands on those legislative issues that come before the city council? And what are those? That can be your city taxes. That can be the curriculum held in our public schools. All things that the city has governance over. That's where your alderman represents you. Our next level of government would be the county commissioners. At one point in time, the county commissioners ran at large, meaning they did not have specific districts. That has now been corrected. We now have county commissioners that are responsible for a specific geographic area. They vote for things in the county. What areas of the county? That can be highways, that can be our health, institutions of our health. These are things that may or may not affect you. Don't know. But when you know who represents that interest, if it's something that's affecting you, you now know that if it's under the county, you go to the county commissioner. You don't go to the alderman. Then we have another step or another level of government, and that would be the state government. And in the state government, the state is divided up into legislative districts and senatorial districts. So you have a state representative and you have a state senator. These are the people that at the state level, all those things that the state is responsible for, the appropriations, the taxation that you receive, they are the ones that make those appropriations to cover those things that state government's responsible for. Then you have the federal government. The federal government, the lines that are drawn, and most of the lines that are drawn to determine legislative districts are based on population, so that every district has pretty close to the same number of people that those respective elected officials represent. And that is done at the census. How many of you saw fit to participate in the census? If you don't get counted, you really don't count. Having said that, the appropriations that a particular area receives are based on the number of people that have been counted in that district. Let's say, I'm going to make it small scale to make it really simple. If you're having a dinner party and you have been told that there are 10 people coming because 2 people did not respond, but then all of a sudden those 2 people show up to sit at your dinner table, there's going to be a little shortness there. And when we look at our community and we demand that we be funded for housing, for education, for health, for whatever it is, and we say we have not received enough money, a lot of times it is because the numbers, we did not get counted in the numbers. Instead of 10 people at the table, there were 12 people at the table. So there was no appropriations for those additional 2. I'm trying to keep it simple. I hope you read between the lines. Many of the things that occur in our community, we have the answer to if we take that responsibility and the responsibility of citizenship, the responsibility of registering to vote, understanding who we're voting for, what their interests are, as well as getting counted in the census for the appropriations, for the money that is allocated for a specific district. This is a heartfelt message. Right now, the Supreme Court that we would go to to address the issues that we bring up, the rug has been pulled out. Our districts are going to be gerrymandered. We could lose the districts that we have based on race, based on incumbency. In other words, a person that is in place now, good, bad, or indifferent, would have the right now to draw a district that favors them. We don't even know, we as a people, generally, this is broad stroke, don't even know what we don't know. Get in the know. Better understand what not only your rights, but your responsibilities. Act responsibly. And when we act responsibly, we can come up with some strategies that will be able to let us hold our place and advance. This has been Bren Sheriff, thanking you so very much to listening to a conversation with the citizens, helping you get your house in order, not only your financial, but your political house. Let's do it to it.
Remember to make plans to join us again next week for Conversations with the